Greetings! You're watching Septum Sen versus the World. I'm Septum Sen, and I'm here with Kotobuki J.
Hi.
And we're here to keep you informed by giving you our lovely knowledge and sharing with you our collecting hijinks. So,
Yes, hijinks.
before we get
And
started,
shenanigans.
there's a little bit of news. I mean, there's not much right now. Everybody's gearing up for the big old sales, these years. I'm gearing up to probably buy next to nothing, but I will be looking, and I am curious because Right Stuff also puts their sale out, so of course I'm really psyched up.
And dreading it.
So we all have wish lists that we have that we would like. Me, I am hoping that they put Dorara 2 on sale.
It'd be nice if they put the first series back on sale for less than 100.
You can get like one Blu-ray set for like 126 now on there, which isn't too bad, but it's not a special edition.
What? Not too bad.
Well,
I still want to get that lunchbox, but I'm not holding my breath on that one anymore. But
not unless you want to pay $200 for it.
No.
But for me, I want to pay a lot. I would pay a lot for certain things to complete a series. I paid for Kill la Kill, but I paid $20 a volume for Kill la Kill.
Not bad.
And I would like to do that. I could do that. I could do 6 volumes like that. I mean, it's still 120. It's still a bit over my budget, but I could do it. 50
total?
Yes. And $50, which is what they want for the simple dress-down DVDs, is a bit beyond me. I can't pay $300 for a series, and then of course $75 for each Blu-ray volume. So,
Yeah.
but
Highway robbery.
we did have a question submitted. I had gotten a message by somebody who was talking about my reviews. I did message you back. If you're watching, of course, I wanted to also address again in the, in this, because this is where I would address something like this, which was, are you going to review Camp Blood 7? Now, for those of you who are not familiar, check out my Camp Blood series. I've got a nice little playlist, all the Camp Bloods, 1 through 666, including Into the Woods, which is sort of the redheaded stepchild of the series, but believe it or not, is nowhere near the worst in the series. Now I'm psyched for Camp Blood 7. I've already, gotten in touch with the producer. I've already forwarded the money for a copy. I'm going to be getting that. I'm going to be watching it. It's going to be prioritized, and yes, it is going to be reviewed as soon as I get my copy and I've watched it. I'm hoping a lot for this to be an improvement. 666 really was an improvement on the series. I mean, you went from... It did add sort of a supernatural element, because before it was just a guy in a clown mask just killing people, and each one had a pretty decent plot twist. 4 and 5 were... Yeah, exactly. And... They were not the best. I felt like they invested a lot more in retelling the whole of each one, which is really sad, because otherwise it is a near flawless collection for me of slasher films. All of them have been fun, with those exceptions, and even then there have been pieces of those too that were fairly fun. So I can't wait, to tell you the truth. I'm actually very excited. Other than that, I did finish Are You Afraid of the Dark finally, and that review is posting on Wednesday. We have an upcoming review. We got our copies of Skip Beat. You can see my Love Me shirt. That review is going to be going up Thursday this week, so something else to look forward to. And that's pretty much it for the news. I mean, I still haven't gotten to watch a lot. I mean, I've been trying to catch up with Star versus the Forces of Evil, because that's been up and about. Still, psyched about that. They've been addressing the Marco Star connection, and unfortunately for Marco, Star is going out with somebody else right now, which is for those who actually follow that.
So it did come back?
Mm-hmm.
Well, surprised you haven't tried to prioritize that. But I guess
I have prioritized it. I'm caught up. I haven't watched today's episode because it's a day delay to my Amazon account, and I don't stick with Disney XD. I haven't been I don't have that on, but they show them. It's like they do these giant bursts.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be done this week. It'll be last week, this week, done, and 3 or 4 months before the next.
And you'll be going into withdrawal before it's over.
Yep, I'm gonna be needing it, man. I'm gonna be needing it. But I got it on Amazon, so if I want, I can rewatch the whole series, and I might actually do that. I've also finally beaten Stick of Truth again, and I've been starting Fractured But Whole. Now,
I was talking with someone about that today, and he was very complimentary of it. He said it was a great game.
it's like a South Park episode. And there you go. I mean, right now, we went through a stripper joint. But it makes fun of a lot of superhero tropes and superhero movie tropes. And, of course, a lot of fart jokes, a lot of poop jokes.
Of course.
Even the title, which I did not get, but then you think about it. So, Fractured But Whole. You get that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think it smacked me when I first saw it in print, but the first time you said it, I was like...
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I do. I finally got it. I listened to Rage Select's podcast, and I got that. I was like, oh.
Okay. All right. So, anyway...
So what have you been up to?
I've had some good viewing myself. Not a huge amount. I really need to step that up a bit. But I don't remember if I mentioned last week. I was watching the series, the HBO series Big Little Lies. It's actually a really good show. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Gets a little soapy at times, but it's got a hell of a cast, and they work off each other really well. And then, almost by happenstance, I ended up watching two of the leads, Shailene Woodley and Laura Dern, against each other in a completely different context. I finally watched The Fault in Our Stars, which was actually a really good movie. And
I'm wanting to see that, actually.
Yeah. And I followed it up with another movie that I've been putting off for a while that was totally different. But it was a great 1-2 combo. And I think you and Kim, you guys would love this movie. You ever see... or I don't know if you've seen it. What We Do in the Shadows?
I have heard of it.
Yes.
It's a comedy, isn't it?
Yes, it's from the makers, Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement, the makers of the show Flight of the Conchords, which I still haven't seen. I need to see that. But I've seen at this point, I also saw Waititi's movie, Hunt for the Wilder People. I've not made it to see Thor Ragnarok yet, but now I really want to. But What We Do in the Shadows is a mockumentary about a group of vampires living in a flat together in New Zealand. And it's just... I don't really know how better to describe it. It's weird and funny and weird. And I love mockumentaries. They're not all great, but I have seen some really good ones. This is Spinal Tap, Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman. I mean, these are some classic films. Sweet and Low Down was more of a docudrama, but that kind of qualifies. And I think Zelig as well.
Yeah.
And there's some really good ones. And I was very happy to see this one.
Actually, I'd almost say Small Time Crooks started out like that.
I don't know.
Because, it talks about his life as a criminal when it first starts out. But with him, I remember that because it showed him in the marching band, and he had a cello in the marching band, so he kept trying to set up the chair, and then he got to get up and walk as he went further on.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the lineup, and I'm because of the release schedule, number 29 is one that you would know a lot more than I would. So since that's an odd, I'll go first this time, and then you can go first.
Oh, okay. So we're doing the release one.
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
we're doing this, but I say next time you would go first for the releases. I mean,
Oh,
because that's tomorrow's video.
yeah. No, no, I'm sorry. You had me confused on what
I'm
video we're
confused.
working on right now.
I'm a confused person.
But we are doing pickups, right?
Yeah, we're doing pickups this time, so I would go first this time. Is what I was trying to say, because I want
Right.
you to go first for the next.
Okay.
So, okay, this was a real spur of the moment pickup.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this. Somebody was offering it for like $20 at one of these sites I frequent. I never buy from them, and so I said I've got to find a cheaper version of that. So I got this double feature. It's by a very small company, and it's region free, so it's a great thing. But it's not a bootleg as much as it's just too small a company to really do much with. Which has Holla If I Kill You, which is about this jam, this NBA jam, not jam, this comedian who they say makes Eminem look like MC Hammer.
That is a
and
tremendous insult.
And this sort of horror slasher comedy. So I think it's in the vein of the Scary Movie type franchise. I really didn't care about that. It wasn't the one I was interested in. What I was interested in is the true horror in this, which is Peter Rottentail.
I got to admit, that has my...
I mean, you gotta admit, the picture, the monster on the front looks so absurd and terrible.
I love it.
I've got to see this. This is going to be a priority viewing of mine. Maybe right after I finish Camp Blood, I have to get to this.
Yeah.
But it just looks hilarious about the spirit of this evil rabbit who I think was PO'd because of his magician or something like that, and he's going around and axing people. So it can't be bad. And this, by the way, was $5 as opposed to $20.
It's definitely better than 20.
And the one that he was offering was also a Region 0 release, so I don't feel like I was cheating anything.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. My first one is going to be a quick one because he covered it last week. But as we have mentioned before, Centime has been doing progressively more impressive sales, trying to whittle down their DVD backlog. And one that I mentioned when he brought it up that I had on my list was 11 Eyes.
Woohoo!
And $12 was certainly a good price for it.
You know more about it than I do.
Not particularly. I think it's the same basic thing. We keep looking at it on the holiday sale and Right Stuff. Keep putting it back. Put it in the cart. Putting it back. Put it in the cart. Putting it back. Finally jumped on it. I do think 13's about as cheap as I've ever seen this. It usually runs about 15 or so.
It was a good
sale.
price.
Yeah, and it looks interesting. So I will launch into the Sentai stuff thoroughly next week. I just thought I'd go ahead and get this one out of the way. I did get more than I should have from that sale, but that'd be something to look forward to.
Well, speaking of Sentai sale,
Yeah.
I have actually 2 entries from that sale on this list. This one, Dusk, Maiden of Amnesia, which is 12 episodes plus an OVA plus 2 soundtrack CDs. And this was like the $12.99. And I could not turn this down for $12.99. And you've actually spoken well of this series.
Oh, yeah.
It's a horror series, isn't it?
It's a horror series, but it's not like
It's not a horror series.
it's not a scary horror, but it definitely is moody and atmospheric. One reason why I'm glad the soundtracks are in it is it does have great, creepy, atmospheric music. And the opening theme, which is called Calendrier, is really cool. And it's a great opening sequence and whatever. And that full song is included on the soundtrack. But it's basically the gist of it is this girl on the cover, Yuko,
is trying to keep her panties covered because she's laying on the stairway all the time.
She She is the resident ghost, because in Japan all schools have resident ghosts, But anyway, in this one particular school, this club sort of assembles. You got the main guy who discovered her one day, and you learn as the series goes on how the club got started. You've got this main guy. You've got the very truculent girl who does not want to play nice with the others. And then you got the wide-eyed, naive kind of... I think she's like the secretary for the club or something. And she cannot see, hear, or understand Yuko is in the room at all. The other two know she's there. And so she's literally the ghost president of this club.
Oh, that's good.
And it's a very fun setup. And the basic gist of it is she cannot remember who she is or why she's there. And the point of the club is to find out who she is and why she's there. And even the one who can't see ghosts knows all the stories and everything. And she thinks they're just a typical I think they're called the Paranormal Investigation Club.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
So it's a school comedy sort of, but it's really much more serious than your typical, So and it is horror, but it's not, So it's like a hybrid series, but it is really good, and I liked it a lot. The art's great, the music's great, the concept is fun, and I think they do a decent job of wrapping up the story in the time. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's sort of different from the other one that didn't have a chance to wrap up the story.
Yeah.
So what have you got for us now?
Well, speaking of shows that are a little bit creepy, one that I mentioned repeatedly as we were first getting this channel going, I finally had the opportunity recently to get very cheaply the first volume off of the eBay, I believe it was.
The eBay.
But it's been a few weeks and I've honestly forgotten. But I finally got season 1 of Dexter.
One of the best seasons.
So I have the first 4 now, which from what I've been told is all you really need of the show. But I'll eventually want to get the other half of the series. But I've seen the first 2 episodes. They're quite good.
Yeah.
One day I'll see the rest. But finally have a complete run from the beginning up to the halfway point, which is a lot better than what I had.
Actually, I liked Dexter almost all the way up until the last season. The last season was the only one that really caused me any problems. But,
Alright.
Speaking of, I think this will really go on top of last week's a little bit, which is Freddy versus Jason. I had a really crappy version. It had no bonus features. It was on a DVD. It was in one of those 4 film favorite cases.
Which I probably have now.
Yeah. So, this has lots of special features. It's on Blu-ray. And this really is one of the major returns. I can't remember who said this. I think it was James and the Cinemassacre, or it could be... Actually, no. It was the combination. It was the Nostalgia Critic with him appearing as a guest when they talked about the Mummy. Because, that's where the Dark Universe was coming back. When they started saying Dark Universe, we're going to have the Dark Universe. Then the Mummy came out, it flopped, and then the Dark Universe fell on its ass.
Pretty much.
Huh, that's odd. Alright, So, this actually has in the vein of this, because the Dark Universe, it was not that long ago, and the Dark Universe was the setup of, it really was the basis of a lot of the modern superhero movies. This Batman versus Superman, this the Civil War, all of this was set up by those original ones, like Wolfman versus Frankenstein, or, they had the original, monster versus monster, and this really is right in on that vein. And people have wanted to see this fight for a long time. A long time. It was actually set up in Jason Goes to Hell, where you actually see the Freddy glove come up and grab the mask and bring it down at the end. Now, for the most part, it's not a bad movie. I mean, it follows like some of these people who are kind of survivors, and Freddy's kind of lost his power because they stopped believing in him. So Freddy has to start killing people to make people believe in him again, so he can be strong enough to start killing teenagers on his own again. So he basically tricks Jason into going and killing a bunch of teenagers. They start believing in Freddy again, but Freddy gets PO'd at Jason because Jason's taking all of his kills. So Freddy's like, you can't take my kills, I'm taking you down. And so they get into this slap down, drag out fight, which up until then kind of boring, but once they get to the fight, I mean, the fight is freaking awesome. When Freddy fights Jason in the dream world, they do this thing where he does this little pinball, like...
No, it's just the way you said that. For a second, I thought you said they got into like a slap fight or something.
Yeah, like... Actually, I would pay to see that. A movie where Jason and Freddy like... slapping at each other. But, so, then of course, Freddy and Jason end their fight in the real world. So each one has their strengths, and you find that out. So, to me, it's a really good film. It's really fun. It's really cheap. You should get a copy yourself. I'm glad to have it upgraded on Blu-ray.
Okay.
So
cool. Well, my next one is a library pickup, and
you need to stop picking up libraries. They're too heavy.
I know. Well, they're getting to be. Well, and again, I cannot pass up a full season of TV for $1. I mean, that's just, at least if it's in decent condition.
And if it's a good series.
The next one, the next one I got is a series I've heard a lot about. I honestly have very little familiarity with it, but it's season 2 of a show that's very well known and highly regarded by a lot of people. But I got season 2 of Stargate Atlantis, which is very shiny.
Did you see the original movie?
I actually don't know Stargate. No,
Huh.
I know that's probably I'm a kind of a bad geek about that, I guess. It's like I said, it's pretty well known. It's pretty well liked. Some people really get into this show. I don't remember how many seasons there are.
I don't know. It's a big series, and I think there were 2 different Stargate series.
Yeah, it's a big franchise. I think Atlantis isn't the longest one.
Yeah, they also had they had 2 movies. Yeah. They had the original. I only have the original movie, which is actually a pretty good movie. It was about these people who find this mysterious gate that was actually a
Stargate.
Stargate, and they turned out to be like this slave thing. It was very odd sci-fi stuff.
But yeah, it's let's see here, and I was just wondering what the I don't even remember what channel that was, but anyway,
Sci-Fi.
Is it Sci-Fi?
I'm pretty sure it's Sci-Fi, or it's been rerun on Sci-Fi.
It's definitely science fiction. But again, this one, that was a pretty good get for $1, and I'll have to get season 1 at the very least, and hopefully it will prove to be a good one to have. I always like to get these well-known shows as they become available, just to have a good. And in fact, most of my pickups this week are just random pieces or small or short shows or whatever. It's mostly shows, but yeah, that's that one.
This one here is another Centime. My last actual movie my last DVD of the list. I actually have one non-movie-ish thing. And so this is Humanity Has Declined. This is in like the future where birth rates have declined, and obviously she's going to be the one to fix that problem right there. That would be my guess is what the whole thing is about. I've never actually figured it out. It's got a good rating to it.
I don't remember the plot synopsis, but I think it's
got like a big old loaf of bread with robotic arms that flies. I mean, that just right there shows you something.
It does have a good rating, and I have been wanting to see this show for a long time. I picked it up a while ago, and it's just sitting there waiting to be watched.
It's just going to be sitting on my shelf, but
yeah.
I do want to see it eventually. It's just one of those, like, when.
If I remember correctly, I want to say that the main character is played by Mai Nakahara, which, of course, is one of my favorite voice actresses, so that's going to be yeah, that's one reason why I want to see that. But my next one is a show that we've been talking. I don't know if we did on this video, but on our Skip Beat video, we did talk about shows that eventually can turn into a bit of a slog and get a little bit repetitive.
Skip Beat was not one of those.
Yeah, we were talking about another series, but we brought it up there. But a show that I actually watched in its entirety with him. They got very long. He has the complete collection. I had none of it, but now I have season 3.
Great start right there.
But once again, a $1 pickup, and it's brand new, which is even cooler. But I have season 3 of I Love Lucy.
Oh, that one has its pluses and minuses. It's not. Yeah. I don't think it was meant to be watched as often as we watched it. It's more of like Andy Griffith, one of those that you just cut in a couple episodes.
Just like Andy Griffith, and a lot of those shows back then, these seasons were big. There's 31 episodes in this show.
Actually, that's a good one for $1.
Yeah, I know. And of course, everyone knows of I Love Lucy. Everyone, it's one of those cultural touchstones for American TV. Like even more so than some of the other shows. It's really fun at first, but it really does become a slog by the end of the series. But it is an essential to any collection, and I'm glad I finally started collecting it. And it'll be good to watch it a little bit at a time.
I mean, they've got decent prices on those releases, but I like my release particularly well, even though because that one's that one's kind of gone the way of the dinosaurs and vanished now. There's another collection. Yeah, there's another whole collection. You see it at Target a lot of the time. But yours has actually got a worth of $15 on Amazon, so not bad there. Oh.
Good deal.
So my last one is another music CD. This one I have listened a lot to in the car. A friend of mine used to have this one earlier on. I can't remember whether it was college or high school. We used to listen to this a lot. And this is a group called Mini Boss. Now, Mini Boss is similar to another group called The Advantage, which covers... see, look at that. That's kind of cool art right there. You got Mega Man, Ice Climbers. I think... Is that Batman? I can't...
I don't think that's... if it's Batman, he's got a different outfit.
No, that's not Batman. That's somebody, though. I don't know. Maybe it's like...
He's not Batman.
I think it's Simon Belmont. I don't know. But you see, it's got this nice little thing where...
I know that name. What
Samus is
that
like...
Castlevania?
Yeah, it's Castlevania.
Ah.
Where, she's beating the crap out of him, Samus is. But they doing music covers for video games. Some video game music is very iconic. And this one did a really cool Mega Man 2 medley, which is really awesome to hear because it kind of just goes through, cycles through some of the levels, goes back to the level select, and then comes back to another level's music. And I believe Mega Man 2 has probably the best music in the series of Mega Man games. It's been a while, but I've got the
Tetris.
I do have a metal coverage, a coverage of the more popular Tetris song, like da 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 da.
There's a really good recording on YouTube. I can't remember the dude's name, but he does a fast ragtime version that's really cool. Love it.
So if you get the chance, definitely pick this up. It's not too expensive, and I'm glad I finally got a hold of a copy.
Okay. And I did not plan it this way, but it just occurred to me that you said you led off with what you introduced as an impulse buy. And I'm ending with an impulse buy.
Is it as good as mine?
Probably. Well, I don't know. It's debatable.
Hard to say if it's as good as Peter Rottentail.
Well, at any rate, I may or may not have... I think I've mentioned on this channel before that... I've very much enjoyed the current series Flash. I've only seen the first season, but I've very much enjoyed it. And one of the highlights a lot of the highlights have to do with the casting. A lot of the actors in it are quite good, and they do a good job.
They have a great cast.
But one of the interesting things is that Henry Allen, Barry's father, is played by John Wesley Shipp. And way back in the early 90s, John Wesley Shipp played Barry Allen in a short-lived TV series. And when I was at Walmart a couple weeks ago, I happened to see it for $10, and I had to get it.
Yeah.
So
that's
there we go.
$10.
The original The Flash with John Wesley Shipp and some other folks, Amanda Pays and other folks. I have never seen this series. I cannot comment on its quality, but 22 episodes for $10 for a comic book geek getting a comic book series.
Hey,
that's kind of an
it's got to
essential.
be like really good. I mean, $10. That's like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's even half as fun as the new series, then it would be worth looking at. Yeah. So, have you seen this one? Or
I have not. The only one of the old ones I've seen some of the old Spider-Man live action, and I saw a lot of episodes of the Lou Ferrigno Hulk when growing up. That one was a big one.
I've not really seen that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, even Family Guy did like a thing where he's going down and he's like trying to hitchhike as he's going down the road.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for our pickups for the week.
Short pickup video.
Yep, I hope you all liked it, and if you continue to like this channel, subscribe, like button, and of course share. If you have any comments on any of the stuff, if you also know of Mini Boss, or if you've seen the other albums, it would be really cool if you could share some of that. But if you know of any other your favorite video game cover bands, please let me know. I look forward to your comments in the comments section, and I will see you later on.
Hey.